Hi everybody. So today I'm going to spend some time talking a little bit about integrating a new crested gecko into an already existing colony, even if that colony is only consisting of one crested gecko. So we'll start out with the most basic thing, which is who can be housed together. So in an enclosure like this, it's 18 by 18 by 24, you could comfortably house up to 4 crested geckos. I prefer to keep a maximum of 2 in one of these, just because you don't end up having any squabbling issues or too much problems over territory, anything like that. So, gender-wise, males and males may never be housed together, so you definitely don't want 2 males in the same enclosure. They will fight. One will bully the other one, and inevitably, unfortunately, one will either get badly hurt or unfortunately killed. So you definitely want to make sure that if you're bringing a new animal into the enclosure and you have an established male, you definitely don't want to be bringing even a juvenile that is unsexed because you can run into problems long term that way. So up to 4 females can be housed together. So if you didn't have a male in this enclosure, you'd be completely fine. But again, females can be just as territorial as males, so it's going to be, a lot of you kind of paying attention to what's going on with your animals, and definitely not neglecting them, especially in the beginning, so when one's just been brought in. So, now the easiest ways to introduce a new animal are, obviously the first thing you're going to do when you bring home a new reptile from a pet store or hopefully a breeder or a reptile expo is going to be to quarantine. So quarantining your animal is very, very important, and that can be done in an enclosure like this. This is a 12 by 12 by 18 Exoterra, just a smaller enclosure, kind of bare bones, very minimum, a couple hiding spots so that they would be comfortable. Very basic, just a wood chip substrate and a feeding bowl, your temperature and hydrometer gauges. So the purpose for this is it serves a couple purposes. The cool down period, when you shouldn't really be handling your new pet anyway, that usually lasts about 2 weeks, and that's just to not stress out your new reptile. You shouldn't be handling, you shouldn't be messing with them too much, bothering them in the daytime. Just let them get accustomed to their kind of new surroundings. The second purpose that it serves, if you are bringing a colony together, or bringing even 2 together, like I said, would be to establish that the new gecko that you're bringing in doesn't have any communicable diseases, pinworms, any kind of mites, anything like that could negatively affect your gecko that you're keeping that's happy and healthy at the time. So again, this would just be a fairly bare bones setup, and what you're looking for is just to kind of monitor, intake and output, making sure that he or she is eating well, and that their bodily functions are fairly normal. About a 6 week period is kind of ample to be doing that, but you definitely don't want to do less than a month. So after that quarantine is finished, we can come back over here, and you're ready to introduce the 2 geckos. So let's say we've got a male and a female that are going into the same enclosure. Now what you're going to want to do in an enclosure like this is a planted vivarium, so everything in here is live, with the exception of the plants along the back that are just a little bit of a hiding spot. So in this kind of enclosure, you're going to be taking out as much substrate as you can, changing out all the mosses, all the wood chips, and cleaning. So every surface that you can clean in this entire thing, you're going to need to clean. Now the purpose for that is to make sure that if there's established territories, that you're kind of wiping them out. So you don't want your established geckos scent all over everything, and it puts them on a level playing field when they come into the new enclosure. An enclosure like this one, we'll scoot over here. So this one would be even easier to kind of achieve that. So you'd be taking all the decor out, that includes the backing, cleaning off any trace that a gecko has been here. Changing out your water in the waterfall, the substrate would obviously need to be changed, and then any of the fake plants would need to be well cleaned with some vinegar and water, or any of the commercial reptile enclosure cleaning products. So a little bit easier in an enclosure like this than it is in a natural one. Now the second thing you're going to want to do is obviously put everything back together. So in putting everything back together, it's important that you kind of rearrange things as best you can. Again, with an enclosure like this, which is I think what most people have, you know, everything kind of fake in it. It's a lot easier. You know, you can move the tree to one side, you can switch the position of the waterfall, the vines change. You know, all those kind of minor things that wouldn't seem disorienting to us. Reptiles aren't that smart, so they're going to be able to establish a pecking order and territories based on the new environment, both together on level ground. So in an enclosure like this, it would be a matter of rearranging as much as you can. So, you know, that log that's back there maybe could go to the other side. Food dishes could go to the other side. You know, things can be repositioned as best you can to help to promote a good meeting. So the next thing we'll kind of jump to here would be what to expect with these guys when you introduce them the first time. So you're definitely not going to want to, you know, shove them in each other's face and see how they react. You know, much more of a natural, you know, kind of letting them be, basically, just, you know, maybe dropping one on a ledge or kind of on a common spot and letting him find his own way is going to be what's recommended. So, you know, the things you need to be aware of in the night when these guys wake up, you know, chirping, barking, little noises that maybe you never heard before. As long as they're not getting too aggressive and you would know, you can hear them kind of squabbling, you know, those things are okay. It's going to help to establish a pecking order, which is, you know, isn't a bad thing. You know, just like dogs or any other kind of animal, they will have a kind of hierarchy that they pay attention to. The things you need to watch out for are obviously damage to your gecko, either one, the new one or the one that you've had for a while. The first place you'd normally see that would be along the crests and on the tail. So if one gecko is being bullied extensively, tail loss, chunks missing out of the crests, things like that are a sign that you've left things too long and you need to be more attentive to your gecko. But, you know, hopefully if you do have issues, you can always nip it in the bud and kind of make sure that they're either separated or you've kind of figured out how to deal with them. So separating is a big deal. When people bring another crested gecko or another reptile into the same enclosure, they don't always think that there's going to be any issues. But I think what you definitely need to be prepared for and keep in mind is that there can absolutely be issues. It doesn't matter if you're bringing two females together or a male together with three females. You know, they can fight and they can hurt each other. So, you know, having the means and the wherewithal to kind of separate them, again, whether it's going to be into an enclosure like this for the rest of their lives or whether it's going to be something a little more elaborate, is something that you're going to need to decide. But you do need to have the means and the time to devote to cleaning maybe multiple enclosures before you end up purchasing another gecko. So the last thing that I wanted to touch on was the possibility of eggs. So obviously you cannot neuter a lizard. So you need to be mindful of the fact that if you bring a male into a female's enclosure or vice versa, she will go grab it and she will lay eggs, and you're going to need to deal with that. So it's a whole nother care video about how to take care of eggs. I won't get into that at all, but it definitely is important to kind of know what you're doing. Gestation period's about 3 months, so that would give you enough time to kind of sort out another enclosure for 2 new babies, or you know, decide what you were going to do with more crested geckos that maybe you didn't necessarily want. So it is something to keep in mind if you're ever going to put a female and a male together. Okay. So hopefully that covers everything. It's fairly basic, but it is very important for the happiness and health of your geckos and any reptiles that you bring together very, very much. will appreciate some time to kind of acclimate to each other. So hope that covers everything, and thank you for watching. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Jax_Geckos. Thanks so much. Bye.